In the quiet town of Cincota, near Budapest, a chilling secret hid behind the ordinary life of Béla Kiss. Known as a skilled tinsmith and a friendly neighbor, Kiss was respected and trusted by all. No one suspected that the large metal drums on his property concealed a nightmare. Kiss's evil was not obvious, it was methodical, hidden in plain sight, and masked by his charm. The story of Béla Kiss is a disturbing reminder that true horror can exist next door, disguised as normalcy. His case remains one of Europe's most haunting unsolved mysteries, a legacy of deception and unanswered questions. Béla Kiss, born in 1877 in the quaint Hungarian village of Izsák, was a man of seemingly simple means and unassuming character. Little did his neighbors know, beneath the surface of this ordinary man lurked a darkness that would shock the nation and etch his name into the annals of criminal history. By trade, Béla Kiss built a reputation as a diligent tinsmith, crafting metal objects with a practiced hand. His workshop, a humble space filled with the clang of hammers and the scent of heated metal, was the center of his public life. Beyond his trade, Kiss was known as a sociable, intelligent man. He engaged in lively conversations at the local tavern, sharing stories and opinions with his fellow villagers. He possessed a certain charm that drew people to him, making him a welcome presence in any gathering. He charmed neighbors with his wit and helpful nature, and was seen as a model citizen, a pillar of the community. He was the kind of man people trusted, the kind of man who seemed incapable of wrongdoing. The image of respectability remained intact, even after his young wife Marie and her lover vanished without a trace in 1912. The disappearance sparked whispers and speculation, but Béla Kiss managed to deflect suspicion with carefully crafted lies. Kiss claimed they'd eloped, running off together to start a new life elsewhere. He even produced a forged letter, supposedly from Marie, confirming their departure. The town, eager to avoid scandal and disruption, largely believed him, never suspecting foul play. They accepted his explanation, content to let the matter fade into the background. To maintain the facade of normalcy, he hired a housekeeper, Mrs. Jakubek, a woman who would unwittingly become a key figure in uncovering his dark secrets. Kiss, with a stern warning, told her never to open the metal drums that occupied a significant portion of his yard, claiming they contained gasoline, a valuable commodity during those times. He reinforced his story, explaining that he was stockpiling gasoline in anticipation of wartime shortages. A plausible explanation given the growing tensions in Europe. The drums became a fixture of the landscape, their true purpose carefully hidden by Kiss's convincing lies and the general acceptance of his explanation. They stood as silent sentinels, guarding a horrifying secret. Beneath his friendly exterior and the carefully constructed narrative, Kiss led a double life. Trusted by day, a cold and calculating predator by night. He moved seamlessly between these two worlds, deceiving everyone around him. His story serves as a chilling example of how evil can so easily hide behind the mask of respectability, how appearances can be profoundly deceiving, and how easily trust can be manipulated. Sometimes the most dangerous people are not the ones who appear menacing, but those who seem the most ordinary, the ones who blend seamlessly into the fabric of everyday life, their darkness concealed beneath a veneer of normalcy. World War I changed everything for Cincota, and for Béla Kiss's secrets. In 1916, with Kiss away at war, his landlord opened the forbidden drums, expecting gasoline but finding preserved corpses instead. Each drum held the body of a woman, meticulously preserved in wood alcohol. The grisly discovery shocked the town and revealed Kiss as a cold, methodical killer. Police found all the victims had been strangled, some with puncture marks on their necks, fueling rumors of vampirism. The drums, once mundane, became symbols of horror, but the man responsible had vanished, leaving only terror behind. Investigators uncovered Kiss's chilling method. He lured victims through Lonely Hearts ads, posing as a wealthy widower seeking marriage. He targeted women who were isolated and financially independent, building trust through letters. Once convinced, the women traveled to Cincota, bringing their savings, and never returned. Kiss forged letters to families, explaining their absence and sometimes asking for more money. His calculated use of correspondence allowed him to operate undetected for years. The letters found in his home became a grim archive of his predatory tactics. Kiss exploited loneliness and hope, turning them into tools for murder. His desk, filled with promises of love, was in reality a ledger of death. The horror deepened as police searched Kiss's property, finding more bodies buried in shallow graves. The final count 23 victims, including his wife Marie and her lover. Kiss's small plot was a private cemetery, the result of years of calculated murder. Detective Chief Karoli Nagy led the investigation, using Kiss's letters to identify victims. The motive was clear. Kiss targeted women for their money, preying on the vulnerable and isolated. The scale of the killing stunned the nation and made headlines across Europe. The question remained, how had he escaped notice for so long? And most haunting of all, where was Béla Kiss? As the horrifying truth of his meticulously planned murders emerged, Béla Kiss was nowhere to be found. The authorities, initially baffled by the disappearances, now faced a far more sinister reality. A serial killer had been living among them, and he had vanished without a trace. The quiet town of Sinkota was left reeling, grappling with the revelation that a monster had been hiding in plain sight. The last confirmed sighting placed him as a soldier fighting on the brutal Eastern Front of World War I. The chaos and carnage of the war provided the perfect cover for his escape. A vast and turbulent landscape where identities were easily lost and men disappeared every day. It was a world of trenches, barbed wire, and constant bombardment, a far cry from the quiet streets of Sinkota. Scouring through countless military records, investigators confirmed that Kiss was indeed alive and serving in the Austro-Hungarian army. His name appeared on muster rolls and casualty lists, a testament to his participation in the war. But the records also hinted at something more, a discrepancy that would ultimately reveal his cunning and resourcefulness. The trail led to a Serbian hospital where Kiss had been admitted for an unspecified illness or injury. It was here that he executed his audacious plan, swapping identities with a deceased soldier. This act of deception allowed him to shed his old life and assume a new persona, effectively erasing himself from the official record. The hospital became his gateway to freedom, a place where death and identity intertwined. By the time authorities arrived to apprehend him, Kiss had already vanished into the maelstrom of war. He had successfully faked his own death, leaving behind a false trail that led nowhere. The chaos of the battlefield, the constant movement of troops, and the general breakdown of order all contributed to his escape. He was a ghost in a war-torn land, free to roam and reinvent himself. His daring escape transformed him into a figure of morbid fascination, a legend whispered in hushed tones across Europe. Newspapers splashed his story across their front pages, fueling public intrigue and fear. Wanted posters plastered city walls, depicting his face and detailing his crimes. He became a symbol of the darkness that lurked beneath the surface of society. He became a phantom, a specter haunting the shattered landscape of post-war Europe. The continent was in ruins, its cities scarred by war, its people traumatized and displaced. Amidst this chaos, Kiss moved unseen, a shadow flitting through the streets and alleyways. He was a product of the war, a manifestation of its violence and moral decay. Despite a continent-wide manhunt involving detectives from multiple countries, Kiss always managed to stay one step ahead of the law. He was a master of disguise and deception, able to blend seamlessly into different environments. He exploited the porous borders and the fragmented political landscape of post-war Europe, moving freely between countries and evading capture. The widespread confusion and displacement caused by the war provided the perfect cover for him to slip away unnoticed. Millions of refugees were on the move, seeking shelter and a new life. In this sea of humanity, Kiss was just another face, another anonymous figure lost in the crowd. He used this anonymity to his advantage, disappearing into the masses and leaving no trace behind. His audacious escape left law enforcement agencies utterly frustrated, while simultaneously captivating the public imagination. The newspapers fueled the frenzy, publishing sensationalized accounts of his crimes and his daring flight. The public was both horrified and fascinated by Kiss, a man who had defied the law and seemingly vanished into thin air. He never returned to his former life in Sinkota, the small town that had once been his home. The memories of his crimes, the fear and suspicion he had engendered, made it impossible for him to ever go back. He had burned his bridges, severing all ties to his past. As Europe slowly began to rebuild itself from the ashes of war, Kiss's trail grew colder and colder, eventually fading into obscurity. The priorities of law enforcement shifted, resources were diverted to other pressing matters, and the case of Béla Kiss was gradually forgotten. The world moved on, but the mystery of his disappearance remained. The tinsmith of Sincota, the seemingly ordinary man who had once crafted metal objects, had transformed into a phantom, a figment of the past. His name became synonymous with evil, a reminder of the darkness that can lurk within the human heart. And so the crimes of Béla Kiss remained unresolved, a chilling testament to the enduring power of deception and the enduring mystery of human evil. His case became a cold case, a file gathering dust in the archives, a reminder of the cases that haunt investigators for generations. The search for Béla Kiss became international, with police across Europe and even Interpol on alert. Sightings poured in, France, Romania, Turkey, but Kiss always vanished before he could be caught. In the French Foreign Legion, a man named Hoffman matched Kiss's description and boasted of his skills, but disappeared before arrest. Each lead ended in frustration, fueling the myth of Kiss as a master of disguise. He seemed to anticipate every move, always escaping just in time. The lack of closure turned him into a legend, a criminal ghost haunting police files across the continent. The manhunt showed the limits of early 20th century policing. Kiss remained a phantom, his crimes echoing across borders and decades. Decades began to slip by, each one adding another layer to the enigma of Béla Kiss. The initial shock and horror of his crimes slowly faded, replaced by a morbid fascination. The world moved on, but the specter of Kiss continued to haunt the edges of collective memory. But Béla Kiss's shadow lingered, stretching across continents and casting a pall over the interwar period. Despite the passage of time, the authorities never officially closed the case, and the wanted posters, yellowed and brittle, remained tacked to precinct walls. His name became synonymous with unsolved mysteries and the unsettling possibility that evil could simply vanish without a trace. In 1932, a New York detective, a seasoned veteran of countless investigations, claimed to have spotted an elderly man bearing a striking resemblance to Kiss in the bustling subway. The detective, haunted by the details of the case, was certain of his identification. But in the blink of an eye, amidst the throngs of commuters and the cacophony of the city, he vanished into the crowd, swallowed by the anonymity of urban life. The detective searched frantically, but the man was gone, leaving behind only a lingering sense of unease. Rumors, fueled by speculation and whispered conversations, placed him in various guises. Some claimed he was working as a humble janitor in a New York office building, meticulously cleaning floors and disappearing into the shadows each night. Others insisted he was living quietly in European cities, perhaps under an assumed name, blending seamlessly into the fabric of everyday life, frequenting cafes and parks, an invisible presence among the bustling crowds. Each potential sighting sparked a flurry of investigation, but he was always disappearing before police could confirm his identity, leaving behind a trail of tantalizing clues and frustrating dead ends. The authorities were constantly one step behind, forever chasing a ghost. These stories, whether rooted in fact or born of pure imagination, cemented his status as a criminal legend, a figure of mythic proportions who defied capture and eluded justice. The newspapers sensationalized his story, further fueling the public's fascination with the elusive killer. The world was captivated by the unsettling idea that Kiss could be anywhere, lurking in the shadows, hiding in plain sight, a wolf in sheep's clothing, waiting for the opportune moment to strike again. The fear of the unknown gripped the public imagination. No sighting ever led to his capture. Each lead dissolved into nothing, each investigation reached a standstill. His fate remains a mystery, a question mark hanging over the annals of criminal history. The empty prison cell stood as a stark reminder of his enduring escape. Did he eventually succumb to the ravages of time, dying in obscurity, his secrets buried with him in an unmarked grave? Or did he manage to live out his days as a free man, forever evading justice, a ghost in the machine, a phantom haunting the dreams of those who sought to bring him to account? The unanswered questions, the lingering doubts, and the persistent rumors only deepened the legend of Béla Kiss, transforming him into an enduring symbol of mystery and the unsettling power of the unknown. Béla Kiss's legacy endures as a case study in the psychology of organized serial killers. He was charming, intelligent, and methodical, using his social skills as weapons. His crimes exposed the limits of early detective work and the dangers of hidden evil. Kiss's story is now part of criminal folklore, inspiring books, films, and endless speculation. The mystery of his fate keeps his legend alive, a symbol of justice denied. He reminds us that true monstrosity can hide behind a friendly face. Over a century later, the tinsmith of Sincota remains a ghost in the annals of crime. His story, a chilling warning that evil can thrive in the most ordinary places.